Alaska is one of the most talked about cruise destinations in the world, and before their first Alaska cruise, most people spend months researching. They compare cruise lines, study itineraries, watch videos about Glacier Bay, and obsess over which excursions are worth the money. I know because I did exactly the same thing. But after sailing Alaska every summer for a number of years now, I've realized there's one thing almost none of those videos prepare you for. They tell you how to plan an Alaska cruise, but they don't tell you what an Alaska cruise is actually like. And the reality is that Alaska feels completely different from every other cruise destination I've ever visited. So if you're wondering what it's really like once you step on board, this is the video for you. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. One of the biggest misconceptions about Alaska is that it's mostly a destination for retirees. While you'll certainly find plenty of retirees on board, Alaska attracts a much different crowd than your typical Caribbean cruise. You'll find families who want their kids to experience glaciers and wildlife instead of water slides. You'll find photographers carrying cameras that cost more than some cars. You'll find hikers, nature lovers, adventure seekers, and people who would rather spend their days spotting whales than sitting by a pool. And you'll also find something else that's surprisingly common: people who've cruised Alaska before. A lot of cruise destinations are places people visit once and then they move on. But Alaska tends to have the opposite effect, because once people experience it, many come back again and again because no two trips are exactly the same. The wildlife changes, the weather changes, the scenery changes, and every sailing feels a little different than the last. In fact, some of the biggest Alaska fans I know aren't people who cruise all the time. They're people who specifically cruise Alaska whenever they get the chance. There's just something about Alaska that keeps pulling people back, myself included. Before my first Alaska cruise, I spent almost all my time thinking about the ports. Like most people, I was focused on Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, Glacier Bay, and all the excursions I wanted to do once I got there. But what I didn't fully appreciate was how much of the Alaska experience happens between those destinations. On a Caribbean cruise, sea days are spent enjoying the ship with people relaxing by the pool, trying new restaurants, watching shows, and taking advantage of everything the ship has to offer. But Alaska is different because the destination stays with you even while you're sailing. One moment you're sailing past forested islands, the next you're surrounded by snow-capped mountains, waterfalls appearing along the shoreline, and bald eagles circling overhead. And if you're lucky, whales may even surface along the ship as well. But what surprised me wasn't that Alaska was beautiful, because everyone expects Alaska to be beautiful. What surprised me was how often the scenery demanded your attention. And instead of treating sea days as downtime between the ports, many people find themselves actively looking outside throughout the day because there's always the possibility that the next great view is just around the corner. By the end of my first Alaska cruise, I realized that some of my favorite memories hadn't happened in port at all. They happened while sailing through one of the most spectacular places on Earth. I also realized something else. Some of the things that matter the most on an Alaska cruise aren't necessarily the things you'd expect. The right binoculars can change your wildlife view and experience. A good rain jacket can save an excursion. Layers become your best friend, and even simple things like portable chargers, motion sickness remedies, camera gear, and waterproof bags can make a bigger difference than most people expect. And that's why I put together an Alaska cruise essential packing list on Amazon with all of the gear, gadgets, and travel items that I've personally found useful after more Alaska cruises than I ever thought I'd take. You definitely don't need everything on the list, but if you're trying to figure out what is actually worth packing for Alaska, it's a great place to start. And if you do happen to purchase something through one of those links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps support the channel and allows me to keep creating videos like this for you. I'm truly grateful for your support, y'all, so thank you. You'll find a link in the description below if you'd like to check it out, but again, no pressure at all. One of the things that makes Alaska so unique is the way it changes how people experience the ship itself. On many cruises, the pool deck is the center of activity. People spend their sea days lounging in the sun, sipping drinks, and focusing on everything the ship has to offer. But in Alaska, the scenery often becomes the main attraction. Observation lounges fill up early, window seats suddenly become some of the most sought-after spots on board, and passengers gather along open decks with binoculars and cameras in hand, hoping to spot whales, sea lions, or a glacier calving in the distance. Even the conversations feel different. Instead of comparing cocktails or talking about last night's show, people are sharing wildlife sightings, discussing excursions, and pointing out mountain peaks to complete strangers. There's also also a surprising sense of camaraderie that develops. When someone spots a whale, they're not keeping it to themselves. They're calling everyone over to see it. And when a glacier comes into view, people naturally gather together at the rail to take it all in. Now, the ship still matters, of course. You'll still enjoy the restaurants, entertainment, everything else on board. But Alaska has a way of shifting the focus outward. So for 1 week, the ship stops being the star of the show and becomes the best seat in the house instead. If Alaska has a headliner, this is it. People book Alaska cruises for a lot of reasons. The wildlife, the scenery, the ports, and the excursions all play a role. But for many cruisers, Glacier Day is the moment they've been waiting for. What surprised me is how different it feels from any other day of the cruise, because the atmosphere on board changes entirely. People are up early, observation lounges fill up, open decks become crowded, and cameras and binoculars are everywhere. And as the ship gets closer, conversations get quieter, and you start to appreciate the scale of what you're looking at. These aren't just big chunks of ice sitting in the distance. They're massive rivers of ice stretching across entire mountainsides. And then the captain begins rotating the ship so everyone gets a view. Rangers or naturalists start providing commentary, and every so often you'll hear the unmistakable sound of calving as ice breaks away from the glacier. It's one of those rare travel experiences that live up to the hype. And even after multiple Alaska cruises, Glacier Days are still the days I look forward to most because they remind you that some places in the world are simply bigger, older, and more impressive than anything we can build ourselves. Before my first Alaska cruise, I expected it to be one of the most relaxing trips I'd ever taken. After all, the scenery is peaceful, the pace feels slower, and you're spending much of the week surrounded by mountains, forests, and glaciers. But what I didn't expect was how active Alaska can be. Many Alaska ports aren't really destinations in themselves. They're gateways to experiences. One day you might be whale watching, the next day you could be riding a train through the mountains, taking a helicopter to a glacier, hiking through a rainforest, or searching for bears along a remote shoreline. And even on the ship, Alaska has a way of keeping you engaged. You're watching for wildlife, attending ranger presentations, exploring observation decks, or simply spending more time outside taking in the scenery. By the end of the day, it's not unusual to realize you've been moving almost nonstop since breakfast. And that's one of the reasons Alaska feels so different than other cruise destinations. You don't just visit Alaska, you experience it. And while there are certainly opportunities to relax, most people leave Alaska feeling like they've packed far more into a single week than they ever expected. One of the biggest differences you'll notice on an Alaska cruise is the role the ports play in the overall experience. In many cruise destinations, once you step off the ship, you're already in the middle of what you came to see. You get off the ship to visit a beach, explore a historic city, shop, eat, or simply wander around for a few hours before heading back on board. But Alaska ports work very differently. For most people, the real adventure starts after they leave town. Juneau isn't just Juneau, it's whale watching, helicopter flights, glacier trekking, and dog sledding. Skagway isn't just Skagway, it's mountain passes, historic railroads, and some of the most spectacular scenery you'll find anywhere in North America. And Ketchikan isn't just Ketchikan, it's wildlife tours, float planes, fishing trips, and remote wilderness experiences. Now, that's not to say the ports themselves aren't worth exploring. Many are charming, walkable, and full of local character. But unlike many cruise destinations where the port is the attraction, Alaska's ports often serve as gateways to the experiences that take place far beyond the town itself. And that's one of the reasons Alaska excursions tend to be such a big part of the cruise experience. People aren't just getting off the ship to visit a place, they're getting off the ship to experience Alaska. Before our first Alaska cruise, I spent a lot of time thinking about the weather. We were sailing in July, which is supposed to be one of the best times to visit Alaska, and usually it is, so I figured we'd have a pretty good chance of seeing clear skies and sunshine. But it didn't take long to learn that weather has a mind of its own in Alaska. Rain and fog seemed to follow us for much of the cruise. Excursions were canceled in nearly every port, and there were days when the mountains everyone talks about were completely hidden behind the clouds. And yet, somewhere along the way, we stopped looking at the weather as something that was happening to our vacation, and we started seeing it as part of the experience. The fog rolling through the mountains created scenes that almost felt surreal. The rain brought waterfalls to life all along the shoreline, and every now and then the clouds would part just enough to reveal a glacier, a mountain peak, or a stretch of coastline that made everyone stop what they were doing and stare. And that's one of the things we've come to love about Alaska. You can plan your trip during the best weather of the year and still spend much of it in the rain. But even when the weather changes your plans, Alaska has a way of giving you something memorable in return. Now, that's not always convenient, but it's one of the reasons Alaska feels more like an adventure than a vacation, and why the moments that do come together feel so special. After cruising Alaska as many times as we have, I've realized there's one part of the experience that's surprisingly difficult to explain to someone who's never been there. And it's not the glaciers, and it's not the whales, and it's not the mountains. Now, those are certainly part of it, but they're not the reason so many people come home already talking about their next Alaska cruise. What I've noticed is that Alaska changes what people pay attention to. On most vacations, people are focused on what's next, the next meal, the next show, or the next excursion. But in Alaska, people become fascinated by things that would barely register anywhere else. And I've watched entire decks of people stop what they're doing just to watch nature unfold around them. And I can't think of many other places where that happens. And maybe that's why Alaska stays with people long after the cruise is over. It reminds you that there are still places in the world that don't exist to entertain us. Places that don't care about our schedules, our plans, or what we hope the weather would be that day. Because they're extraordinary exactly as they are. Maybe that's why so many people keep coming back. They're not trying to recreate a particular excursion or revisit a specific port. They're chasing a feeling. The feeling of standing on the deck of a ship, looking out at a place so beautiful, so wild, and so different from everyday life that for just a moment, everything else seems to fade into the background. But here's the bad news. Once Alaska gets its hooks onto you, your first Alaska cruise probably won't be your last. Because before long, you'll start thinking about the ports you missed, the excursions you didn't take, and all the things you want to experience the next time around. But the good news, after years of cruising Alaska, I've finally put together my dream Alaska itinerary. So don't stop here, watch that video next, and I'll show you exactly how I do Alaska if I could only do it one more time. I'll see you over there. If you're ready, I am. Let's go.